I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories, I hear a lot of things out on the road, but to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
Welcome to this week's Wacky Moments of Leftist Extremism. Some surprisingly awesome news this week from the leftist media. The high costs that are associated with home ownership and high insurance rates since 2020 have absolutely nothing to do with Joe Biden.
The costs of owning and maintaining a home have soared, up 26% since 2020, according to one analysis. And home insurance is a major piece. That's up 20%. One of the reasons? Climate change.
Yes, they actually blame it on the weather, not on the storm front of Bidenomics that just blows all across this nation. And in case you didn't know it, The Atlantic tells us struggling Americans that the economy is the Taylor Swift and LeBron James of economies. You have to ignore a lot of facts to reach that conclusion. And The Atlantic diligently ignores them for Biden. But the leftist media is like that, just like the evening newscast that ignored Hunter's laptop. They spent a grand total of just 40 seconds talking about it during Hunter's trial on felony gun charges, and even then they never acknowledged what they had falsely suggested that the laptop was 4 years ago.
A Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks.
All the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation.
Disinformation campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
They didn't want to bring that up. They were just so sad. I mean, Hunter's conviction is not justice. It's just a tragedy.
And the jurors here were sworn to do their duty under law, applied the law to the tragic facts in this case.
Yeah, things are always tragic when you take a close look at the Bidens. So with the Hunter Biden federal gun trial concluding with a guilty verdict, the media must make sure they lay down the narrative groundwork ahead of the sentencing. And CNN brought on my favorite guest for this.
You know, Hunter Biden has talked about his addiction. He's talked about what that has been like for his life. But I wonder, on this particular issue, the set of issues that he was charged and has now been convicted of, has he ever expressed remorse for what led to all of this?
I believe that he's aware of every step of his journey.
I'm actually a little skeptical about Hunter Biden having a spiritual advisor. That may not be true, but the bigger question here is, why was he immediately made available to the press? And why did Abby Phillip at CNN lead with a question about remorse?
Has he ever expressed remorse for what led to all of this?
Because you know the media really does have a lot of sympathy for Joe, especially about what's happening to poor Hunter.
Now his younger son is potentially facing some jail time even. We don't know if that's going to happen, but convicted on these 3 counts.
Yeah, it's really a kind of agony that you don't often see, frankly, at the top of our political system.
You know, Joe Biden would look at the camera and say, I love my son. And everybody in this country can relate to having somebody in their family that they love struggling with addiction and the challenge that puts your family through. And I'll tell you, those were the things that people remembered from the debates in 2020. It was Joe Biden making that argument.
Was that the argument that Joe made at the debates?
What he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia.
That seems a little different to me. Perpetuating the lie of Russian disinformation, backing that call of big tech censorship on the issue. And speaking of censorship, I wonder why the Wednesday evening and Thursday morning newscasts of CBS and NBC completely ignored this.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! This is your chance to get out! This is your chance to get out!
An anti-Semitic mob of leftists threatening Jews on a New York City subway after holding a rally where they flew a banner glorifying the October 7th terrorist attack on Israel. Yeah, that's completely not news. You can see why they didn't cover it, because it damages Democrats. And to defend them, the leftist media needs to contort itself into all new shapes of stupidity.
Yeah, right you are. Jen, here's something to think about because there's supposed to be a separation of church and state in our system of government, a tenet in the First Amendment known as the Establishment Clause, which states Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. But the issue of abortion makes you question if that's now the case.
If outlawing abortion on the grounds that it constitutes murder is like the establishment of a state religion, then I guess MSNBC wants to repeal all murder laws, since thou shalt not murder is one of the 10 commandments, right? But the mental contortions of leftist stupidity did not stop there this week. It's time to bring on CNN.
Obviously, there's a lot of criticisms of Trump that he is bad for democracy, that he's bad for American democracy.
Okay, we are a republic.
We're a republic.
We are not
a
a democracy.
representative republic. We're not a democracy.
One thing we've been hearing at Trump rallies like this over the past few months is that America isn't really a democracy.
America's not a democracy, it's a republic.
It's not a democracy.
So faced with facts, CNN does what it always does, argue against them.
I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
It's too bad your tracks didn't actually stop at a civics class or two, or maybe the concept of democracy as a verb used in order to elect local representatives for your constitutional republic may have frickin' been taught to you, you moron.
You are hearing people say America is not a democracy because there are people around Trump who want them to be saying that, who've been planting that narrative.
People like Benjamin Franklin, maybe. I think CNN may be a threat to intelligent thought everywhere. I'm Eric Schneider for MRC-TV, asking you to protect yourself and others from brain-dead leftist media. Head over to the MRC homepage, press that donate button, visit MRCTV.org for the latest videos, information, and entertainment, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos on the platforms that actually let you see us. We'll be back next week with another look at leftist media insanity.
I want to invite you as my guest on a very special, once-in-a-lifetime, 7-day post-election cruise in the Caribbean. It's going to be a blast.